So to show a little bit more about how we can use those marquee tools, as well as some of the other tools we're going to talk about, let's work into an actual file. So I have provided you guys with a couple files here. If I go to the Photoshop 1 folder, they're numbered. First file I want to open is fire alarm. Now, depending on the settings for your computer, you don't want to just double click this because that's going to open in whatever program you have defaulted to open your JPEG files. So probably won't be Photoshop, especially if you recently installed this. Instead, we could do a couple different things. So I could just click on this the easiest way, the way that I usually do it, grab this JPEG, bring it down to the dock if I'm in a Mac, drag it right on top of the PS icon, so just right on top of where it says Photoshop, and let go. And that's it. Another thing I could have done is File, Open, navigate to that, and grab that file. Okay. Or if you did decide you wanted all your JPEGs to open in Photoshop from now on, you can change that preference. It is another option you have. I don't know if you want to go and mess with that just yet. All right, so we have this open now, fire alarm, and it's in Photoshop. And the very first thing I notice is, well, it's sideways. So if I look at my top menus, Adobe does a pretty good job of naming these things up here. So I file, edit, image, layer, type, select, filter, 3D, view, window, help. So I'm going to go up to image, scroll down, and I can see image rotation, and I have 180 degrees, 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees counterclockwise, arbitrary, flip horizontally, flip vertically. I'm just going to choose 90 clockwise. There you go. I'm going to now make sure I save this. I can see at the top of my tab name, I have a little asterisk there. That means that this file has not been saved since the last time I've done something to change it. And the reason I'm going to save this is because I'm going to do a few things now where I hit reset or revert, and I don't want to have to do that flip every time. So to save, yes, you can go up to File, Save, but I recommend getting in the habit of just on your keyboard, Command S, save. Okay. So we have our marquee tools. So I'm going to grab my marquee, my rectangular marquee. I'm going to grab a selection. And if I click inside, you'll see that the selection itself is moving, but nothing about the image is moving. And that's because this is not the Move tool. The Move tool is this one here. I can hit the letter V. If you're used to InDesign or Illustrator, V gets us a selection tool. Same idea in Photoshop. So this is kind of the equivalent of our black arrow. If you're using an older version of Photoshop, it actually does look like a black arrow. All right. And if I click in there, I will see it allows me to move it around. Okay. So there you go. That is the Move tool. Now I can deselect. Once I do that, it's going to be very difficult to put this back because I can't. Now, if I grab M or grab my marquee tool again, and I'm very careful and I put a perfect selection around this, and then grab V, Move tool, does not work. So anytime you deselect an object, there can only be one set of pixel data in any one point at a time. So it overrides that. It actually gets rid of what was there. All right, so it erased that. So that content is essentially gone forever now. What we can do, though, fortunately for us, is we can do Command Z. Command Z a couple times, get it back. All right, or if I didn't hit save, I could go up to File and choose Revert, and that'll revert back to the last time it saved. Okay, so that's not what we wanted. We didn't want to destroy that. For now, we will. All right, so I'm going to draw a rectangle. Now, when I move this, if you notice what was underneath it, hit the letter V, it was white. And that's because right now my background color, which is this guy right down here, is set to white. There's two colors, foreground and background. Background is the one that's behind. We could choose to make these different colors just by clicking on them once, and you can use your eyedropper to pick a color. Or I can hit this little swap arrow. I could also hit the letter X on my keyboard to swap them. And anytime I have other colors in here, if I want to get them back to black and white, I can just hit the letter D for default colors. D goes back to black and white. X will swap that. Now, whichever color is in the back represents my background color. A minute ago, it was white. Do that again. But it might not be. Sometimes it would be black. And if I drew something here with a black background color and hit the letter V, it's a black background color. All right. So that shows you that's where your background shows up. It's behind your image. Command Z, Command D, deselect. All right. So our rectangular marquee, again, hold Shift. I get a perfect square. Hold Shift. I can add to my selection. Elliptical marquee. Draw an ellipse. Hit the letter V. I can move this around. Command Z, Command D. Those are great. Unfortunately, they're not going to help me in this situation, which is, hypothetically, I want to remove this fire alarm from its background. And those tools will not do what I need them to do. So for that, we're going to have to move on to something different. For that, we're going to move on to what we call the lasso tools.